When Dennis and I were raising our kids, one of my real goals at Christmas was to find a way to teach our kids to think about others instead of thinking about themselves and what they were going to get. And the reason that I was motivated to do that is because when I was a child, one of my strongest memories is my brothers and I sitting around in the living room floor going through the page after page after page after page in the catalogs that came in the mail. And in those days, we got these really big, fat, thick catalogs from Sears and Montgomery Ward, which doesn't even exist anymore.
But I remember you telling me about them.
Hundreds of pages long. And we would just go, oh, I want that, I want that, I want that, I want that, I want that. It was all about what we wanted, what we hoped to get. It was all about me and my desires and my needs. And I remember thinking when I got married and starting having kids, that's just not what Christmas is about. Christmas is about giving. For God so loved the world that he gave. What did he give? He gave us his son. And when we celebrate Christmas, we're remembering the gift of God. And so when we focus on giving, we're imitating him. And I wanted my children to think about giving and about what that meant and not about getting and all the stuff that was going to be mine. And Ashley's the oldest, and she has more experience with this. But what we decided to do is we decided to help all of our children focus on what they were going to give to their siblings. And so it made more work for me as a mom, but it was so important to me that it was worth not doing some of the other things on my list. So I helped all of the kids think about, what can I give to my brother? What can I give to my sister? I want to give them this. And I helped them save money or find a way to make something or go buy it. But I helped them think about giving to their siblings and giving to their grandparents and giving to whomever. And they made their own list, and we worked all of that out. And so the way it practically happened in our family on Christmas morning is that we all got up. And you can tell about having to wait for such a long time.
Well, I didn't care. It was fine.
That's right, you didn't.
I didn't.
But your siblings did.
They cared very much.
But we got up in the morning and everyone came downstairs. And instead of there being this free-for-all, which that's fine if that's what you choose to do. But for us, I didn't want my kids coming in and just grabbing all of their presents and ripping into them 90 miles an hour and the whole thing's over in 10 minutes. I like to savor experiences, and I wanted us to
we
savor that.
We savored for hours.
We savored for
hours and hours. It was long savoring, which by the way I love. But I'm just saying it was very long.
But the reason it was long is because the kids came downstairs, and instead of going and finding what was for them, they went and gathered all the gifts that they had purchased or made or whatever for everybody else
to give. So all of the ones that said from Ashley, I got those. And then
she sits in her chair, and all the presents around her feet are the ones that I'm going to give.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it was so fun because I remember one year going, I have the biggest giving pile. And everybody's like, oh my goodness, your pile's so big. And they're like, mine's the next biggest. And the competition, and suddenly I remember that thinking, I have like the most gifts to give. This is awesome. And feeling so proud of what I was about to get to give. Or somebody had the biggest pile. It might not have been me.
Well,
it might have been Benjamin.
Was you because you love to give.
I love to give. But anyway, but that did happen one year. It was really fun.
So the way it works for us is that we would decide who goes first. And so we'll pretend it was Ashley. And so on Christmas morning, if she was first, she would look through all the gifts she got and she would decide, I want to give this one to my brother first. So she would walk across and give him the gift. And we all watched him open what Ashley had gotten for him. And then it was his turn. And he looked at his pile and he would decide what he wanted to give. And he'd pick it up and he'd go give that gift to that person. And then we all watched that person open. And so that's why it took hours. Because
there's 6 kids, times all 6 presents, times 2 parents and their gifts. And
we had gifts to give. And so it did take a large portion of the morning, and sometimes we stopped and had lunch or late breakfast and then finished.
Yep.
But it made it such a meaningful day. It made it a very others-focused experience. And so I felt like we accomplished what we hoped to accomplish. Did we?
Yes. Absolutely. Because we do the same thing at our house, and I love it. We have a little slight...
Your kids love it?
Yes. We have a slight little twist that we do at our house because the first year I think we did this. You have to wait till your kids are kind of old enough to understand this concept of giving. So you've got to, they probably need to be like 5 or 6 or so, before you can start doing it, because a 2-year-old doesn't really know if they're giving or getting. They don't really know. And a 3-year-old probably not. Maybe by 4, but still a little hard. But I don't remember when we started it. But anyway, we started the whole gift giving idea too. But the first year I took all the kids to the dollar store and let them buy presents for each other, because that's about how much they could afford. But I realized that by like Christmas afternoon, everything was broken that we bought at the dollar store, because it wasn't quality items that they purchased.
Hilarious.
And so I thought, great, we just spent like $50 at the dollar store and almost all of it is trash and we're going to have to throw it in the garbage. So I thought, this is really silly. But the dollar store, it was a great idea though, because everyone could shop for their siblings, and it worked out great. And everybody could pick it out and they could buy it with their own money. So then the next year what we started is we started the SQ store. And I buy gifts throughout the year because I'm a gift giver. I'm always collecting for everybody. And I get a sack with 6 gifts or 7 gifts per child. And they're not big gifts. It could be like a Lego watch or a water bottle that has Arkansas logo on it or something like that. So it's not huge expensive gifts, but the water bottle might be $8 instead of the one at the dollar store that's $1.50. So it might last a little bit longer. And I set it out and I get sticky notes and I put prices on them depending on who's shopping. And I bring in each kid, and let's say it's our youngest, Daniel's turn. Well, he doesn't have an earning capability of my 15-year-old because he's 7. And so he might be buying everything for $1.50, $2 for something that's more expensive. Mm-hmm. But he brings his own little wallet.
That's a great idea.
And he comes in and he shops, and we pull off all of the little sticky notes, and he gets all his presents for all his brothers, and we add it up, and he pays, and I give him his money back, and then we wrap his presents together, and he goes and puts them under the tree. And then I put his things away and get out the next kids, and then the next child comes and shops. And it's a several hour process because we also have 5 children and they're buying for each other. And then I have the kids help me get something for Dad, and they get something for me. But it's a way to make the items we're giving be a little bit better. And I'm actually the one who's getting them for the kids, so I kind of know what they like or what they would be excited about. But the kids are purchasing it, and they're purchasing it with their own money. Mm-hmm. And it's things that are going to last. It's, an Auburn football that might have cost $20, but the kid bought it for $5 because they could afford $5. And so
I have a question.
Okay, I'm ready.
So how's that working now that your older ones are old enough to earn more money?
Yes.
And decide more what they want to give. So are they still shopping from the store you create, or are your older ones starting to go think of ideas on their own and go, you can take them to Walmart or to wherever and buy for each other?
We could probably take our older 2. Here's why we didn't go to Walmart and why we probably stopped doing the dollar store is because we as humans are focused on things we want. To take a 7 or even a 10-year-old into Walmart and say, shop for your siblings. All they see is the things they want. Even my kids go look at their brother's pile and go, oh my gosh, I want that. And I'm like, that's not your pile. That's not for you. That's for your brother. That's, Tyler's pile or whatever. So even it's hard for them to focus even when there's only 5 items sitting in front of them, because most of the time it is something that they want, and I probably have 2 more and one of them's in their sack, right? So we're going to have 3 water bottles that are all the same because all 3 of them are going to love that, or they're all going to want that Lego set. So, and sometimes they'll be like, I know what this is because I bought it for you, and it's shaped the same way. So it's not quite as tricky probably as we could make it, but we try to camouflage the packages sometimes and that stuff. But the big kids could probably do that now.
Works.
But the concept works.
Point.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so they could probably shop, but that's a whole trip to Walmart per times 2 children, and I would rather them just shop at my house. Okay. It's easier in my life. But you're right. It's a great idea. At some point,
I just was curious how that worked out because that
makes
a lot of sense.